Hello friends and fellow crew members. Welcome back to the table today, where we are going to be beginning our first session of Pirate Borg. So, I will be honest with you, I have not really any specific idea of how I'm going to approach the beginning of this, or well, any of it, right? I never really plan anything. Obviously, I daydream when I'm away from the table of possibilities and everything, but those never really turn out. I can't help myself. Anyway, regardless, here we are, and in our Session 0 video, we created a character. We came up with a name for the captain of our ship, in which I said that the captain is going to pretty much always be an NPC, because we are going to be controlling the crew. Now, this story is about the crew, and we discovered the name. We helped... Actually, I rolled a bunch of dice and I came up with a bunch of different names. I didn't really like them, and then I saw one at the very bottom of the list that caught my attention, and I had to go with it. The Harlequinn's Curse. So that is the name of our ship. And I do have an idea of how our captain is going to acquire this ship. So let's set the scene real quick. It's a bit of a coastal town. Pretty quiet at this time of night. Maybe a couple citizens walking the cobbled streets with their torches. Not a cloud in sight, and the stars twinkle up above, and the moon shines bright down on the wet stones and rooftops, the fresh rain that just came through. Sailing ships set in the harbor, the bells dinging off in the distance. The sun over the horizon, just about to start to break over as day is quickly on its way. And we are going to very quickly revisit the events that transpired the previous night. Now, our brave and fearless Captain Camilla Lopez, but those that don't know her, or know her too well, call her Blood Devil, or Devil Blood. I'm not sure which one I want to go with yet. I think we're gonna go with Blood Devil, or Devil Blood. Blood Devil, Devil Blood? I don't know which one's that. See, when I think Devil Blood, it makes me think that there's like a bit of mystery there. Like, maybe she was born of devils and she has devil blood running through her veins. Or just straight up Blood Devil because she fights like a devil from down below, covered in blood of her enemies. Okay, actually, I like that. I like the bit of mystery, but we'll just keep it purely poetic, and we will keep it as Blood Devil. Earlier that day, Captain Camilla, fresh in town. Now, we don't know the name of this town yet. This is just one of the many coastal towns here in the dark Caribbean. Now, this is a map I have up here of the actual map from the book that they give you. This is not going to be the map that I'm using. I just kind of have it up there for aesthetics, so why am I talking about it? The brave and fearless Captain Camilla is in the town. She hasn't even been here long enough to learn the name of this town. The name of the town is not important to what she is doing. She has came here in search for a ship. Now, she has been in the market for a ship for a while. Her pockets are pretty shallow, and everyone around here either likes their ship, stole their ship, or is going to gouge one that is looking to buy a ship. But Captain Camilla heard a rumor of a cheap ship docked here in this port, and she is set to meet with the seller of this said ship. Now let's begin a scene. And we'll keep it really broad. We'll just call it the night before. And that is just so we can start off with our chaos factor and get that set in stone. Now, let's add some things to our adventure list. We're not going to add any threads yet because this is going to be a little bit of a prologue. The sea, of course, is always going to be a character on the list. And we are going to add Captain Camilla. And let's consult our deck of cards that I have here, just to begin using them. What is the name of the contact she is here to meet? Felix. The name she was given was Felix. Felix Cameron. Now, Felix Cameron is said to be from Whitco, or at least have strong affiliation with the West India Trading Company. But this doesn't concern Camilla. She's worried about the ship. She enters. Now, is this are we going extremely cliche? Is this some type of bar or tavern or seaside dive where they are meeting? Let's say that it's 50-50. Pretty possible, right? That is a 20. It was a little cocked, but we're going with it. 20, so yes it is. So she strides into the pub, the bar, the dive, just as the sun is beginning to set on this evening here. She scans the room. She looks down at the description she was given of the man. Quickly, she spots him. As he spots her, he raises his hand and waves her over. She comes over and sits down in the booth. And they begin discussing why she is here. So you're here for a ship, I hear, a sailing ship. A ship at a good price. I do have such a ship. Yes, that is what I hear. But, of course, you gotta expect me to ask, why exactly is this ship you're selling so cheap? Don't get me wrong, that is exactly the price range that I'm going for, but what about it makes it so cheap? Is it old? Is it half sinking? Is it actually sunken? Are you selling me the deed to a sunken ship, lad? No, you see, the ship isn't sunk. In fact, it's anchored out in the port right now. It's been anchored out in the port for, well, quite some time. I've had trouble offloading this. Yes, get to the point, come on. Alright, look. I'm gonna be upfront with you, because I was not upfront with some of my other clients, and I barely escaped with the hairs on my chin. The boat is what superstitious people would call cursed. I myself am not superstitious, but it makes it really hard to sell this ship. Now, of course, the West India Trading Company has no interest in it. It's been decommissioned long ago. Cursed, you say? How exactly is this ship cursed? And what would keep pirates, filthy scum, like them, like you? I am not a pirate by choice. Watch your tongue, or this transaction will end here. Fine, fine, continue. Tell me the deets or I walk, that's what it comes down to, man. Alright, it's cursed. Somehow, I've never seen it, but, well, the history of the ship kind of speaks for itself. The ship is named, well, the Harlequinn's Curse. It's painted on the aft of the ship, of course. It was just a name, so many of them thought. In the captain's quarters, there is a Harlequin mask, nailed above the entranceway. It is said to be the mask of the old king's jester. The ship was originally his. He sailed here from the mainland long ago. It seems the king wanted one last joke on the poor fool by sending him down here. Of course, that was before all the monsters crawled out of the sea. In the end, no one really knows what happened to the poor fool. The ship was found floating a few miles offshore. once it was recovered and pulled back into harbor. Some of the soldiers searched the decks up below. No signs of a struggle, no blood. The lifeboats were still on board. But the strange thing was, the men that went down below deck came back up laughing hysterically. In fact, they died in the jail cells laughing. Weeks later, they would laugh so much that they couldn't eat. I don't know, it's just tales that happened before my time, but the tales are still told amongst the ranks. But look, honestly, that's all I know about it. You're welcome to check it out if you want, but the price is final. A curse, huh? Well, Captain Camilla... Is Captain Camilla superstitious? I'm gonna go unlikely. She seems really stern and strong-headed, so I'm gonna say that's unlikely. Is Captain Camilla superstitious? 15, yes she is. That's not an extreme yes, but she is. I don't much care for curses. I have seen many cursed, and I do believe in them, sir. But I also believe in a good price. I will take a look at your ship. Would you be so kind as to lead the way? He smiles, picks his hat up off the bench next to him, places it, adjusts it perfectly upon his head, and gets up, kind of flips the coattails of his coat and leads her out of the bar, down to the harbor. And she sees the ship. It's a rather nice ship. You can tell it has been sitting here in the harbor for a while. The sails have been rolled up for quite some time. They need to be let down and get the air back in them. She notices that even the ropes and the cargo and everything up on deck has not been moved. It seems people don't even want to set foot on this ship. A little weary, she crosses the decking plank and climbs aboard. She eyeballs everything. She walks up, she checks the captain's wheel, kind of tests the stability of the banisters. And it's a beautiful ship. And in fact, the exact classification of ship that this Harlequinn's curse is a brigantine. So as far as ships go in this game, it's pretty good mid-class, mid-range, kind of on the lower side, honestly, of the actual sailing ships that have cannons mounted. And she goes down, she checks. In fact, the cannons are still there. It's been a long time since any of it's been fired. The barrels of gunpowder have long been too wet. The sea and the salt have left so much moisture inside that the powder down here would be unusable. Basically, every bit of this cargo is going to have to be offloaded and restocked. But the cannons are there. They're in good shape. The deck seems good. The wood seems strong. And the final place she has to check is the captain's quarters. She carefully, cautiously opens the door. The hinges creak loudly as it's been a very long time since this door has been opened. She pushes it open, and a slight musty smell kind of hits her nose as the stale air begins rushing out of the doorway. Old carpets and cloth banisters cover the walls, colorful, as would be befitting a jester of a king. Trunks filled with old garments, a very ornate desk set to the back side, and a comfy-looking chair. A bit of mildew growing on it, nothing a good scrubbing couldn't take care of. She eyeballs it, she's looking around, the windows even on the back of the boat are in good condition. She's kind of nodding her head in agreement as the man behind her kind of sees her doing this, and he kind of gets a little smirk in the corner of his mouth. And he's standing right in the doorway, and she turns to see him. And at this point, that's when she notices the Harlequinn mask nailed just above the doorway there. And she looks, but she almost can't believe it. Where the nails are nailed into the mask, she can see a fresh drop of blood beginning to ooze out of where the nail is protruding in. And as she's contemplating whether or not she does want this, the blood drips down onto the beautiful, pristine hat of Felix Cameron standing there so smugly and proud in the doorway. And it drips down onto his pristine coat. And then another drip, and another drip, until the brim of his hat is containing enough liquid that when he turns his head as he hears a noise come from behind him, the pooled blood up in his hat sloshes down and just completely drenches the front of his otherwise pristine garment. And he jumps back and he's trying to brush it off. Oh, this cursed ship, I hate this place. And this makes Camilla laugh. And she says, you know what? I was gonna try to talk you down, but I'm gonna take this ship. Now she gives him the silver that was agreed upon. Cursing under his breath, he grabs the bag of silver and he makes his way off the ship just as fast as he can, and he goes off into the sunset. And it is now. The darkness has fully set in here in the port. Camilla stands alone in her new captain's quarters. She takes a deep breath, still musty, and she exhales. This ship is hers. The first ship that she has ever owned of her own. Now, I don't want to go into too much about Camilla's background right now. I want to have that emerge as we go into playing. But the Harlequinn's curse has been purchased. The captain is Camilla Lopez, Blood Devil. Now all Camilla needs to do is find some crew. And what better place than back at that bar she was just in? Because as she came in to talk to Felix there, she was already scanning the scene for any potential candidates. And she makes her way back there. Now sitting in this bar, of course, among other men and women and whatever else frequents a place like this, she enters the bar. She strides up to the bartender. She gets up on a stool. Now the place is getting pretty loud by this point, a little rowdy, as you can only imagine in a place like this. And Camilla stands upon the stool, higher above than anyone else, and she shouts above the noise, I'm buying drinks for anyone willing to join my crew tonight. And many people turn and they cheer, we'll join you. Many voices sound all at the same time. Free beer, I'll join. And as they're saying that, she says, to be crew of the Harlequinn's curse. I don't know why that's her voice, that's not her voice. To be the crew of the Harlequinn's curse. And as soon as that name is spoken, all the hands go down. The room quiets. almost to a dead silence for no more than a few seconds. And everyone turns back around to whatever they were doing before she spoke up, as if nothing had ever happened. Her brows kind of furrow at this. She looks around. She mutters a few other things, but it can't be heard over the noise of this establishment. Shaking her head, she sits back down on the stool. She puts her arm up on the bar top. She puts her head down in her hands. And as she does so, she feels a tap on her shoulder. Now, which one of our nice pirates are going to be the one that taps her on the shoulder? Now, I'll just roll a d6 for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6 for who it's going to be. And it is 1, and that is our Alice Perry. She goes by the nickname Poe, which is an acronym for Pieces of 8. That's what it was when I rolled it up, and I figured Poe would be a lot easier to say. Now, I'm going to throw up a picture of Alice Perry, so you guys can kind of have a visual reference. I might have shown it in the previous video. I have not edited that video yet, so if you're seeing it again, well, there it is. Now, I did not mention anything about Alice Perry, because this was the original character that I created. I just wanted to, like, try out the character creation. I wasn't even going to keep this character. I wasn't planning on doing anything with it. I was just like, hey, I have this rule book here. The character creation looks kind of fun. Let's just roll something up for the hell of it, and whatever. I'll delete it afterwards, just so I know what I'm doing, right? And I created it, and I just absolutely loved it. Character creation was so fun. I know I said that in the last video. Blah, 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 blah. I'm carrying on. But, okay, so, Alice Perry is her name, and the class we got was a zealot. And I rolled all of this random. Even the spell she got, which was Sanctuary, which, when she casts the spell, there's no roll involved in casting. You just kind of cast it, and it happens. But you can only use it a certain number of times a day. She has a spirit of 2. I rolled a d2, got a 2. So she can use it 4 times a day. That's pretty awesome. But anyway, all allies within sight. Now, I know that's kind of a very vague sentence, but hell, if you're standing on the beach and you can see your buddy way on the other end of the beach, she can heal him. It's only going to be a d4, but still, that's awesome. All allies around. That's a healing spell. Cool beans. I loved it. She has a backpack for her container. She has 4 candles in there, a worn out book, which kind of really went well with the zealot since she has spells, and she's her god is chaos. I rolled that up randomly too, so I kind of like that. She's kind of crazy, most likely. And a cultural weapon was what the book said. I'm not really sure. Maybe that'll come into play later. Who cares? Her weapon is a belaying pin, so basically just like a little bludgeon, small bat kind of thing. Nothing fancy there. Her clothing is just rags. Of course, we'll use our silver. We'll buy all our characters something new in the future. 3 Devil's Luck, blah, 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 blah. Her background is a warrior, so she was a warrior in the past. Our Alice Perry. Something happened, which takes us to her unfortunate incident. Her last crew, which I'm going to say was whatever she was a warrior with, whether that was a sailing crew or maybe a land-based crew, what have you. Her last crew was killed by undead, but they left her alive on purpose. And I'm thinking that event is what drew her in to the god of chaos and what drew her into being a zealot, where she began researching the magic of these areas. Because in my version of this pirate Borg, I'm going to say that magic has been around for a while. And that all the events that are happening right now are kind of probably a little further along in the timeline than what the actual pirate era was. I'm thinking that the world kind of declined when the undead started happening. I think it's like a worldwide apocalypse kind of thing, but the area here was kind of like the first impacted kind of thing. Blah, 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 blah. I digress. I'm getting sidetracked. I'm very good at doing that. I apologize. Regardless, magic is a thing, and it's been known, but it it's not since the dawn of time. It's something that has happened in the past, maybe couple hundred years at most. Her distinctive flaw is she's a cheater. Not sure how to put that in there, but her physical trademark, and this is what gets me the most, is she never blinks. Ever. No matter, I think she sleeps with her eyes open. That's how unblinking this woman is. That day that she saw her crew slaughtered by the undead, and they just walked by her, she has not blinked since. Not only does she never blink, but her idiosyncrasy is that she is constantly counting everything. So with all that in mind, Captain Camilla feels a tap on her shoulder. She turns around to this extremely wide-eyed, blonde woman wearing a robe and the hood pulled up over her, and she's staring at her with her wide eyes, silent. And she can see her mouth moving as if she's like muttering something. She's just chittering away under her breath. My, that's amazing. You have all of your teeth. There's 32 teeth there. You have 2 eyes. You have 2 nostrils. This is great. You have all 4 of your appendages, your head. And she begins counting the hairs on Camilla's head as she's like... Camilla is just kind of taken back by this for a second, but immediately replies, can I help you? Oh, I'm sorry. I heard you were looking for crew members. I have reasons to get out of this town, and I would be willing to join your crew. And yes, I am aware that you said Harlequinn's curse. That is fine with me. I do believe in curses, but this curse, I feel, is not as bad as some of the curses around here, you know. And she's very, like, fidgety and twitchy. And even as soon as she finishes her sentence, she just begins chittering again as she's counting. She's even looking kind of like past Camilla at the bar, counting the cups. She's counting the stools. She's counting the patrons in the bar. Camilla just kind of nods her head and okay, sit down, I'll buy you a drink, just like I said I would. And she just kind of nods her head and sits down as she continues to stare off into space and count. And that is our first one. So they're sitting there for a few hours, I'd say. And then next, bursting through the doors, which is our next crew member that comes onto the scene. Now it's going to be between Francis Smith, otherwise known as Dark Red, or Jacques-Jean the Hammer. Alright, that is 6, and that's going to be Jacques-Jean. So striding through the door with more confidence than can even fit in this bar. The door swings open. Now, people in here are smoking, but Jacques-Jean always smokes his pipe. He has never not have that pipe in his mouth because, again, I did not go over Jacques-Jean in our first video. Now, my wife helped me roll up this character. It was really fun to do. She rolled the dice. I kind of read out what everything was. So Jacques-Jean, we came up with the nickname. That wasn't from the book, but he is a sorcerer. The spell that he got was protection, which is pretty cool. It just kind of basically gives everybody around him an extra boost of armor for a limited amount of time. He also has a belaying pin, which it was funny odds that we both rolled that. And he also has rags, just like Alice. He has a backpack, also just like Alice. But he has his pipe tobacco, which was one of the actually first 3 rolls of the character creation, was the pipe tobacco. And then he has a tent. Probably because he likes his own privacy. You know, he's really self-entitled because his background is an actor. So he's an actor. He's selfish, which kind of fits in beautifully. And his physical trademark is that he is so good looking, people are jealous. Now, he's an actor, he's selfish, he's so beautiful that he needs his own tent. I will not sleep out here on the ground with you uglies. And then his idiosyncrasy was smokes constantly and coughs. And since he had already got rolled the pipe and tobacco, it fit perfectly. This character came together so well, it was really fun. His unfortunate incident was that political leaders are holding his loved ones captive. But nothing in there does it say that he cares that they're holding his loved ones captive. So that's just kind of funny. I'm thinking he knows this, but he does not care. I did not even like my sister anyway. Good riddance to her. And his thing of importance is a medallion that might be the top of a staff. I don't know. Maybe that'll come into play later. But that is Jacques Jean. So as he comes into the bar, I will stop. I will use the French accent with him. I apologize if there's any French people out there. This is in no way, shape, or form meant to be an insult to you. I know my accent is terrible. But with a name like Jacques Jean, I feel like I have to. Maybe he'll die right away. He only has 4 hit points. So the possibility of him dying is pretty high. So maybe you won't have to put up with my terrible French accent for long. But Jacques Jean, I can't say it without that accent. He strides into the bar with all his confidence, smoking up the already smoky bar. And he just so happens to come over and sit down on the opposite side of Camilla, where I'm sure she's kind of been avoided like the plague by anybody who heard her mention the Harlequinn's curse. Jacques Jean sits down, he's puffing on his pipe, and he's just finished the batch of tobacco he has in it, and he just taps it on the bar upside down to get out the ashes. Just kind of like sweeps the ashes off onto the ground, loads up a fresh batch of tobacco, strikes his match, and puffs it again. He looks over at the bartender, just taps the bar, you know, with his very arrogant way about him. Captain Camilla sees this, and she, remembering that everybody else was afraid of this cursed ship, she kind of begins talking to him. So, hey there, Smokey. You aren't happen to be looking to join a crew, are you? He just kind of raises one of his eyebrows, turns over to her, the smoke kind of puffing up over his face. It just so happens that I am. What is it to you? Well, mister, I'm looking to put together a crew, actually. So far, it's just me and Miss Alice here. And Jacques Jean kind of leans over, and he kind of sees Alice. His eyebrows kind of go up. Oh, just you 2 ladies, huh? And about this time, the bartender comes down and hands him his little pint of alcohol. Takes a little swig, swashes it around. I think this will be good. I am in need to get out of town rather quickly, so the sooner we could depart, the better, madam. But can I know your name? The only name you need to know is Blood Devil, and that I will be the captain of this ship. Alright, pretty boy. You think I am pretty? Ah, you flatter me. When can we get out of this town? Well, I'm looking to set off as quickly as I can too, but we need a few more people before I can do so. You wouldn't happen to know anybody, would you? Now, does Jacques Jean know anybody? If this comes up a yes, he is going to know Francis Smith. I'm going to say, let's just say that's 50-50. Does Jacques Jean know anybody? 97, extreme no. So I'm thinking Jacques Jean or the Hammer. He is not originally from this town either. Maybe he came here on an acting job, or maybe he was like coming here to find an acting position. He came up short. He's looking to get out of town. Maybe he took a couple bets. Maybe he slept with the wrong man's wife. I'm thinking that's actually very likely. I like that. He's looking to get out of town very quickly because there's a manhunt out for Jacques Jean, sticking his pipe where it shouldn't be. So he does not know. He shakes his head no. He kind of finishes off his beer. He's kind of playing with his mug there. Alice is just like eyes wide staring at him, counting everything. And once she's done with that, she turns again off, chattering. I'm sure Jacques Jean makes a comment about her being a little weird under his breath towards Camilla, and she just kind of side-eyes him and shakes her head. Yeah. This is quite a ragtag group that she's forming here, but she knows she's a little bit desperate. She's gonna have to take what she can get. Now, how is our final and third crew member, for now at least, going to enter this pub? Let's try to consult the cards, see what I can come up with. Alright, so on the one of the senses, the sight sense, it says a gathering crowd. And that instantly makes me think that in the corner of the bar, in fact, this catches Camilla's eye. She sees a crowd beginning to gather. Curious, she gets up and goes over to investigate. And sitting at this table, she sees, though she does not know his name, our Francis Smith sitting at a table with a couple other men, playing a round of poker. And it seems Francis Smith is accumulating quite a lot of money on his side of the table. And kind of as she gets over there, you see Dark Red lay down his cards, and the other men on the side of the table throw their arms up. What? This is outrageous. 6 hands in a row, I don't believe it. Read 'em and weep. And he's wearing cut off like a sleeveless kind of shirt. So there's no way he's pulling cards out of his sleeves or anything. If it weren't for this, these men probably would have already pulled their pistols out and shot him by now. You're either the luckiest man I've ever met, or you're finding a way to count the cards or cheat or something. I don't like it. Well, look, lads, if you didn't want to play with me, no one asked you to. No one's holding you here. Now shuffle 'em and deal 'em. Unless you're done, of course. You are looking a little light in the coin purse. I'll show you light in the coin purse, you mother liquor. Try to keep this PG, right? And sure enough, they deal out the cards again. Dark Red looks at his hand, sets it down, scoots in a pile of coin. The rest of them call. They deal another. P.S. I don't really know my poker very well, so I'm just kind of keeping it very vague. I don't gamble and I don't know what game they're playing, but Dark Red looks at his next card, puts his cards back down, face down on the table. The men are eyeing his every move, and he's keeping everything right on Front Street. He smiles, and he grabs his entire stack, pushes it in. The other 2 men look at each other, they shake their heads. Nah, he's gotta be bluffing this, no way. It's impossible. The other men are looking at their cards and they're kind of smirking. Fine, all in. All in. They show his cards. That's it, man. This is it. The man on the opposite side of the table flips the table over, but not before Francis Smith, or Dark Red, has a chance to at least grab a handful of the coins. the men start to draw their knives and rush up on him when Camilla steps in. Does she have a sword? I think she has a sword. Just for the theatrics of what's happening right now, she's gonna have a sword. And she draws her sword and she puts it between, not in a threatening way, but in a protective way, like between the group of men. Easy, lads. There's no reason in fighting. Everyone saw he wasn't cheating, it was fair and square. The men kind of very reluctantly sheathed their knives, their eyes menacing as both of them staring daggers directly at Dark Red. They sit back down. They don't take their eyes off. Dark Red kind of turns to Camilla. Aye, thanks, lass. Though I had it, you know. Because he had 2 knives in his back pocket because he has his knife knave feature, so he's pretty good with his knives. So you could kind of see, they didn't notice, no one really noticed, but he had both his hands behind his backs, gripped onto the handles of those knives. Those men would not have survived if they had tried to jump him. And Camilla's like, how about I buy you around over here by my friends? You seem to be pretty lucky. Maybe I could throw a little more luck your way. You see, I am looking to put together a crew. I have a few members already. And a man with luck like yours would surely be welcomed. You wouldn't happen to be looking for a crew, would you? Dark Red kind of looks back over, because they've walked away from the table at this point, and he kind of looks back over. The men have not stopped staring at him, and they're starting to whisper between one another. And Dark Red says, yeah, I reckon I could need a reason to get out to sea again. That sounds nice. So about that drink you offered. And he goes over and he sits down and he meets Jack Jean and he meets Alice, and they all just kind of like talk for the night. They order a few more drinks. They get well wasted. And we kind of get like a, like a little montage of events going on. This video is already going a little bit longer than I anticipated, so I'm gonna stop it right there. And when we pick up in our next session, we're gonna use the carousing rules that are in the book, which are really fun. And I'll go over kind of how that works. But basically, we're gonna see what each of our new crew members did during this night that takes us to the next morning, where we are actually going to start our session. We're going to get over to the Harlequinn's Curse. We're going to get aboard. Maybe during the night, the captain goes off and finds a few more crew. I like that. And then we'll just go over what these 3 crew members did for their night. And we will begin there next time. So thank you guys so much for watching if you did. I'm already having a blast playing this game, even though I have not done any actual playing yet. But they say prep is play, anything you do is play. So I will catch you guys again in the next session of Pirate Borg. Thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye, friends.